What is the most horrible thing you've seen a child do/say that just made your blood boil? Story 1. This one? Anonymous. Now, I'm sure many of you have encountered these little jerks in supermarkets. Little kids running about and knocking things over, being rude, walking all over their parents. You know the kind. But the worst are the biters. Yes, those little brats that feel it's okay to bite you whenever they feel like it. Anonymous. Okay, here's the best part. A biter got me today when I was grocery shopping. He broke the freaking skin too. This is when the gears started turning. The moment I saw a tiny trickle of blood on the little jerk's teeth as he was grinning at me like the little brat he is, I made my eyes get wide and started screaming, "Crud, crud!" And my good friend, Tom will call him, was there too, and he instantly picked up on it. He started shouting, "Frick, maybe he didn't get it, frick!" By now the kid is scared poopless and starts crying, and instantly Ms. Mom appears out of nowhere and starts getting all mad at us for yelling at our kid. Here's the kicker. Look her straight in the eye and say, "Ma'am, get your son tested as soon as possible. He just bit me and I'm freaking HIV positive." And now there is silence. Not a peep in the entire store. The brat knows he just freaked up big time because his mom isn't defending his butt. She just stares at me wide-eyed. I walk away from them, buy my stuff from the wide-eyed cashier. All the while blood is dripping from my calf, making a nice little trail on the floor. And just as we leave, we start to hear the mother sobbing like the jerk she is. Anonymous has never felt any more satisfaction than the moment they heard that sob. Story 2. There was a group of little kids from down the street. Every day would torment my dog by throwing rocks etc. at him and screaming, running up and down the fence. One day after living there for years and then being a few years older and more bold now, he decided it would be a good idea to stick his face against the fence and taunt my dog. Needless to say, my dog lost his mind and bit the kid once. Was about 1/4 inch below taking his eye out. He ran home crying. Cut to 30 minutes later with cops and his jerk father at my house demanding to destroy my dog. Had to put him up for adoption. Family told me a friend on a farm had room for him. Don't know if that was really true or if it was just a BS kid story. To this day, hate that little jerk and think he only got what he deserved. Edit, just to answer a few who asked. No, the kid didn't lose his eye. I'm not very good at typing things. His wound was right below his eye, about 1/4 higher, and would have probably lost sight in it. Talked to my mother. They took him to the local shelter and had him put up for adoption. Whether he made it to a family or was put down, don't know. And for those of who are probably curious to the breed, it was a Lab/Dalmatian mix. This makes me so unbelievably mad. Growing up, I was taught you respect animals or they can and will frick your stuff up, and it will be your fault. The dog was on your property. He was defending his home. Little Fricker deserved worse than he got. Edit to clarify. Little Fricker, kid. I realize that this may not have been clear with my wording. I don't understand how you or the dog can be punished for this since the dog was in your fenced-off backyard. Oh, that one just made me sick. That poor dog. Story 3. Every Christmas, I head up to Boston to visit a friend while he's home from college, and his family always hosts a massive New Year's party. There's this one family who brings this young child of theirs. I want to say maybe 10-ish years old. Part of the party is spent playing Mario Party and Super Smash Bros. On the GameCube in the basement. This most recent New Year's, my friend and I and a few others were playing Mario Party in the basement, and this kid comes down and screams, "I want to play Super Smash Bros." I said, "Sure, after this game." And he yelled, "No, I want to play now." We said tough luck and turned our heads back to our game. The kid proceeded to grab a pool cue and started screaming and whacking my friend's face. He ended up with a black eye and multiple bruises. After I wrestled the pool cue away from him, his drunk parents came down, and after we explained the situation to them, they scolded me for being rough with their kid. And their kid got off scot-free because he didn't know any better. I don't care how old your child is. If he doesn't know any better, you're a bad parent. Story 4. I worked at a grocery store during high school as a cashier. One typical busy Sunday, I was ringing out an older lady who was buying among her normal groceries a birthday cake for her husband. They had recently celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary, and it was his 79th birthday. She had a large sheet cake with a typical happy birthday greeting, and a photo of him at his first birthday after getting back from Europe in World War II. She left it in her cart until I had rang everything else out so as not to damage it. A child was with his family in line behind her. The lady begins to lift the cake out, and the child screams, "Ooh, cake, I want some." The lady politely says, "You do? This is for my husband. Do you think you will like it?" The child shrieks, "Yeah, I do, and want some." The lady giggles and says, "No, hun, I would like to. I have a lot of people waiting for it. Maybe your mommy and daddy will buy you one." The kid, obviously not used to being told no, throws a fit and does a Hulk smash down through the plastic into the cake and giggles as he licks his hands. The lady is speechless. Meanwhile, the whole child's parents are laughing and saying the usual, "Oh, you are so funny." The kid is still giggling and saying how fun it was. I chime in and ask them what their problem was, thinking it's okay for their kid to do that. They just say he's A, what can I do? I say punish him, learn how to raise your child, should I go on? Close my line down and leave them standing there while going back to the bakery to fix her cake. After about 20 minutes of cake surgery by our bakery ladies, reprinting a new edible image and new piping, the cake was good as new. Parents complained, but after I told my manager, she took my side and all was well. Too long didn't read. A whole child Hulk smashes an elderly woman's cake for a husband. Child and parents not remorseful. That sweet old lady did not deserve all that hassle. Parents like that should have to take mandatory classes on how to raise a child. Story 5. I could go on forever with my delinquent cousins. My cousin really wanted this specific skateboard for Christmas and he kept pestering his mom about it. His mom somehow put up with him and tried to play it off saying, "I don't know, we'll see on Christmas morning." Well, his brothers decided to get under his skin and they told him that their mom was saying that because she didn't get it for him. So at Christmas Eve dinner with the whole extended family around, my cousin said commandingly, "Mom, did you get me the skateboard or not?" And she said, "You won't get anything if you keep acting spoiled." So he yells back at her, "Mom, if you didn't get me that skateboard, then just get me a gun so I can freaking shoot you." Merry Christmas to all. Too long didn't read. Cousin tells his mother on Christmas Eve he wants to shoot her. Please tell me he did not get a skateboard that year. I wish I could tell you that the skateboard fought the good fight and my cousin didn't get him. I wish I could tell you that. But Christmas is no fairy tale world. Story 6. I was walking on the sidewalk in my neighborhood back to my house. As I was walking, I could hear a meow sound coming from behind the bushes. It sounded like a desperate plea for help, and I went to investigate. Turns out there was this little horribly kid around maybe the age of 8 or so, kicking a pregnant cat in the belly. I think she was pregnant, and stepping on her tail, I was freaking furious. I immediately pulled the kid away from the cat and went to see if the cat was okay. If cats could cry, she looked like she was crying. The kid lived in my neighborhood, so I immediately took him to his parents and told them what he had done. They were also furious and grounded him. I went back to the cat and took her to the vet. Luckily she was okay, but I'm scared about what could have happened if I hadn't gotten there in time. Edit. Alpha Ender just sent me gold. Everyone gave him your upvotes. Edit 2. Red74 just sent me another month of gold. Give him your upvotes as well. Story 7. Wow, I've seen almost the exact same thing. This was a few years ago. I own a grocery store. It's the only grocery store in town. Pretty small town. I mean, there's like corner stores and stuff where you can buy basics. But they don't have a lot and their stuff is really expensive. So my store is pretty much the only place you can buy groceries in town. The next closest town is like a 45-minute drive. So anyway, we also have a bakery, and one of the nicest women in the world, who was also my former teacher, had us make a cake for her husband's 90th birthday. She was throwing a huge party for him. It was a bad luck cake. So there was this little jerk running around, and his parents didn't care. He was throwing things all over the floor and was stealing cookies. Before I had a chance to stop him, he ran over to the bakery. He saw the cake we made behind the counter and started grabbing with his disgusting hands and shoveling into his fat hole before someone was able to stop him. The cake was fricked beyond repair. I also lose all self-control around cake, but at least I don't go ruining other people's cakes. Story 8. At my job in high school, these parents let their child run around like a maniac in the store while they did their shopping. At one point, the kid, who was old enough to know better, picked up a large bottle of cologne and chucked it hard at a toddler-aged kid. The toddler obviously started crying. Of course, I found the boy's parents and told them. They showed very little remorse. Didn't even bother apologizing to the other parents, and most shocking of all, did not scold their son at all. No wonder why that kid thinks it's okay to behave that way. It was the parents who ended up sickening me more though. This reminds me of when my brother-in-law taught my 2-year-old nephew how to play catch, which just turned into him throwing anything and everything at everyone. It was a rough couple of years. Story 9. The neighborhood kids, small gang of about 6 kids, ages 8 to 12, locked my cat in a cellar and watched her slowly starve to death over the course of 2 weeks. Oh my god. I had flyers everywhere. I went door to door, desperate to find her. I was devastated that she went missing. 3 weeks later, another kid came to my house and said he knew where my cat was, and told me the story. This was 20 years ago, and it still breaks my heart to think about it. So you locked them in a basement, right? If you didn't lock them in a basement, that's just a missed opportunity. Story 10. I was swimming with my 3-year-old son at the public pool. We were in the shallow end by the steps and he was tiptoeing along to keep his head above water when a wild ball appeared. My son reached an arm out to touch it, still bouncing on the tippiest of toes, when a snaggle-toothed, weird-shaped head 9-year-old pushed him down and under. I reached in and grabbed my son by the back of his neck as I was certain he would be swallowing water. I took a quick look around for a watching parent. There was none. I proceeded to sweep the kid's feet out from under him just as he was laughing about the ball hitting him in the head. SuccessKid.jpg. Cool story, bro. That is a god-tier pun right there. Story 11. My mom works at a barn just across from our house. It goes to a house, pasture full of horses, a neighbor's house, then a barn. So one day, simply look outside at the beautiful creatures only to find the neighbor's kid literally leaned over the gates and slapping the horses across the face. Knowing my mom adores the horses, I went to her and said, "Mom, the little girls are slapping the horses." To which her response was this: "No, they're not. Witness crime. Oh my god." And then yelling, "Stop slapping my packing horses." They didn't do it ever again. My mom's a bad A over there. I like your mom. Story 12. A little kid was running around a grocery store with a pin and stabbing people. Yeah, spread AIDS, boy. This reminds me of a story about a little kid who bit people at a grocery store. The storyteller was bitten hard enough to draw blood by a 6 or 8-year-old and proceeded to pretend to have AIDS. Needless to say, the brat's mother was horrified at the possibilities. I always enjoyed that story. Story 13. One time I was eating with my parents and their friends, and their 2 or 3-year-old kid just jumped out of his seat and started running around the restaurant. 10 minutes later, our waitress brings the kid to the table saying he almost burned himself on the stove, and the parents just said, "Oh, thanks," and continued their conversation. And let the kid run around again. A child will only burn themselves on the stove once, especially a commercial restaurant stove. Wait, you're telling me they didn't immediately get up and get their own kid? Story 14. My friends and I were standing in the lunch queue at school. One of my friend's parents died, and that day was his first day back at school after weeks of absence. Most of the class was aware of what happened. The kid standing behind us noticed him and for no reason said, "Haha, your parents died." We then applied punches to his face. Please tell me the teacher said nothing happened, or at least it was self-defense. Or that when the teacher showed up, there was miraculously no one in the entire room who saw a thing. He ran into the door pretty hard, Mrs. Smith. Nothing else happened here. Story 15. A friend of mine lost her husband. It was the day of his funeral and we were in the car behind the hearse. 2 kids ages 10 to 12 on bikes started riding alongside our car, looked in the windows and started chanting, "Someone died, haha, someone died, haha." I've never felt the urge to inflict pain on someone so much. You should have swerved into them. You got hit by a car, you got hit by a car. Story 16. Most satisfying feeling ever. Also, the cake we made was totally fricked up, but I had one express delivered from a specialty cake shop. That woman deserves it. I got invited to the party too. I heart you. It is so awesome to see a business owner put someone in their place rather than let little jerks be little jerks, for the sake of the almighty dollar/bottom line. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more videos to come, or else this spider will be in your bed tonight.